Hi there, in this video tutorial we will create a React app which uploads the image to a backend and save it to a disk, and the backend we will be using is going to be Node.js with Express. So we will create a React app as a front end and Node as a backend. So let's get to it. So this is an empty directory where we will have both the front end and the backend codes. So we will use create React app to initialize the React project and name it as a client. So this will take a bit of time, so in another terminal we will do all the necessary setup for the backend. So first of all we will work with the backend and then we will wire it up with the front end. Okay, so now in the same directory we will create a package.json file to have all our project settings. So npm init.y will generate the package.json. So now package.json is created. Now we will install a couple of dependencies. So the first one will be Express and the second one will be multer. So multer is the library we will use to work with the form data. That is basically the handling the images in the backend. So the installation will not take much time. So now the installation is finished. We will create an index.js file which will be our app entry point. So inside the index.js we will first require Express and initialize it and store it in a variable so we can use it. Now to create a basic server and start it, we will use app.listen from Express. It takes two arguments, first one being the port and the next one is a callback function where I will just use log to show if the server is running or not. Now for this project I will be using NodeMon. I have NodeMon globally installed, but if you don't have it you can install it as a local dependency, or you can use install it globally like npm i-g nodemon, and that will do it. So now you can see our server is running. So now we can get back to the code and start writing some upload functionality. Okay, so now we will create some directories to store our routes. So I will use mkdir to make a new directory called routes, and inside that I will create a route file index.js. Okay, inside our entry point we will create a middleware to handle user route, which will point to index.js in route directory. I will name the function user upload and we will declare it shortly. So at the top I will require it from route/index.js, although we haven't written that function yet, so we will write it next. Now inside index.js I will import Express and then initialize Express router and store it in a variable called router, which we can export later. Here I will use a post method to handle request. So router.post/upload. So basically we are saying that whenever user hit the route, that is localhost:3001/user/upload, this route will handle that request. Okay, easy enough. Okay, now we will create a new directory. So we are following MVC pattern here. So we will create a new directory which will house our logic for handling request. So I will call this directory controller, and inside controller directory I will create a file called user controller, which will have all the logic related to upload. Inside user controller I will export a function with request and response, and like this, it's an arrow function. And now for now I will just return a status code of 200 with a massive success, and then check if our app doesn't have any errors, and after that we will continue with the image upload code. Okay, now here in the routes directory I will import upload function from user controller using restructuring, and then add it to the post request. So now back to our user controller, and let's start with the main goal of the video, that is to upload image. So first of all we will import multer like this. After that I will create a variable to store some configuration for multer. So const equal multer, which will take some object of configuration. The one we will use is the destination, or test for short, that is where you want to save the file after the upload. So that will be public/user. Okay, so this is the place where the files images will be stored. So let's create a directory with the same name. Okay, let's make that public only, so we will not use user, we will use public only. Now we will create another function with name upload image, which we will export it and then use upload variable to call a method single, as we are uploading a single image for now, with the parameter photo in string. So this photo parameter is important. Okay, after that we will import that upload image function inside the routes, and then add it before the upload function as a middleware. So whenever the route is called, it will first go through upload image and then upload. Okay, now so inside user controller, let's see if our uploaded file image is sent to request or not. So I will just console log request.file to check it. Make sure to write request.file. Okay, so let's see if we have some error or not. So yeah, we have some error. Yeah, I know the reason for this. I have not exported route in the route file, so let's do that. Here, module.export. Again error. Oh yes, I have not called the router here. I just referenced it, which is wrong. I hope you all get that earlier. So now at last, let's check our server, and it is running. And yeah, so sorry for that, that's a silly mistake. So let's continue. Okay, so now let's bring Postman to test our API. Okay, so the endpoint is correct and the method is post. Okay, so inside body we will select form data and name the key photo, because remember we use photo inside the multer configuration. Okay, here in the controller, so this must match. Okay, now back to Postman, let's select the file. I will select this image and then send. As you can see, we get the response 200 with OK. And now let's check our console. So here you can see we get all the details of the file we are uploading, and the file is also saved in the public folder. It will not open yet as the extension is not correct. So we will use this MIME type to get the extension from the file, as well as to filter on images to be uploaded. So let's get to it. Now let's declare a variable that is multer-config. Inside that we will store some more configuration for multer, and we will use disk storage as we are storing file in the disk. So first of all, destination. So this will be called with 3 parameters, and they are same as we call in Express. So request, file, and the callback. Okay. So the callback is basically same as the next function in Express, but we are using a callback. Now callback takes 2 arguments. The first one is null, and the second one is the destination where you want to store the file. So in our case, that is the public folder. Okay. Now the next is the file name. So this will also take the same arguments, request, file, and callback. Now now we will create a variable to store the extension of the file. So we can get the extension from the MIME type. Remember, in the request.file object we have used MIME type, so we can get it from there. So now to get the extension, we will use JavaScript function split to split open the string by /. So it will basically return us with the array with 2 elements, image and JPEG, and so we will select the last one, which is at the index 1. Now in the callback we will use the null and the file name. You can add any logic here, like some unique ID, UID, or any kind of details, but I will just use date timestamp to make it unique, and at the last I will add extension to it. Okay. Now after this I will pass this configuration inside upload, just like this. Multer config. Now let's filter only the images, so user can only upload image files, nothing else. So for that we will create a variable. I will name it as isImage, or you can name it as you want. So isImage variable, and it will have the same arguments. Okay, that is request, file, and a callback. Okay. Now using JavaScript we will check if the MIME type starts with an image. As you can, if you remember, that MIME type if the string starts with image, that means that the file is an image file, so we can go further. Okay, otherwise we can throw an error, so we will write that down in plain JavaScript. So starts with the function with string, we can use it. It will return true or false if the images matches with the MIME type. And at last, let's just pass this config inside the config with file filter. And with that, I think we are done with the backend code. Let me delete this, and let's see if everything is working fine. Let's go back to Postman. We will use the same route with same photo key, and I will select the same image, and let's send it. The status is okay. Let's get back to the code, and here we can see the image is uploaded, and we can open it in the folder, and we can see that image is uploaded successfully. So I think the backend part is done, and we can move further with the front end part. So let's get to the front end part. Okay, so let's continue with the front end part. So that is the React. So first we will do a bit of cleanup, although it is not required, but I will just remove all the service worker codes from index.js, and then I will switch to app.js. Inside app.js, I will delete all the unused JSX and convert this function into an arrow function. Now let's write something and check if the app is working or not. So to do that, let me start the server first. So in the client directory, I will use npm start to run the server. Okay, so server is running, so this is all working right. Now let's start with the form now. So we will create a simple basic form to upload files. We will not have any other inputs. We will only have input for file uploading. Okay, so we will start with the form tag with an onSubmit function. A simple h1 and an input with a type file, and the name must be same as we defined in the backend to the multer configuration, that is the photo, if you remember. Okay, after this we will create an onChange function to monitor changes to the input field. For that we will require some state, of course, so we will be using React useState hook for that, as this is a function component. Okay, now at last a button with type submit, and I think we are done with the form. Okay, now we need to add some state to store the form data from the input field. So we will use useState here with the initial value of null. Okay, and then we will simply import it from React useState. Okay, now let's create the function for the input and the overall form. So we will first start with onInputChange. This will be called with the parameter e or event. E will have all the necessary details for the file which we are uploading. So we will change the state to be the value of the file, which can be accessed by e.target.files at index 0. Okay, now let's start with the form submit. This will also take an event, and we will use prevent default to stop it from refreshing the page. Okay, now we'll create a instance of form data. The variable form data will have a set of key pair value representing the form fields and their values. In our case, we have only one, that is the photo input field. So we will use append to append the input field photo with the value of file which we have in our state. Again, the photo name should be same as we defined in the backend. Now we create a variable config which we will send along with the request to the backend to work with the data. So the first config is the headers, where we will write some content type which will be form multi-part form data, and which basically means that we are sending form with some kind of files or some data with it. Okay, and this is required. Now let's start Axios, which is a package to handle HTTP request, and I forgot to install it in the beginning, so sorry for that. So let's install it. npm install Axios. I will import it at the top. So as we are making a post request, so we will use axios.post, then the URL. Currently that URL is our localhost one, so we will just copy it from Postman and we will store it in a variable. Now the next thing we will pass will be the original form data, which basically have the file data in it. Okay, and the last thing we pass is the config, the header file, just like that. Now Axios basically returns us with a promise, so we can use the use .then to get the success response, which we will just use a simple native JavaScript alert box to show if the upload was successful or not, and catch to handle the error. I will just use console.log to I will just use the log for the error. Okay, so we are not done with the form, and so we are not done with the front end part. Let's see if everything is working fine or not. Inside our browser, I will open the console and then click on browse, and then I will select this file. So it is selected and this image, and then click on upload. So now we get an error here in the console. This is a course error. So this error basically means that the origins are different. Like for our example, for our application, the port like 301 is for backend and 300 is for the front end. So the browser is stopping us to make a request to the backend. This is a simple fix. There is a simple fix for this error. You can use a middleware that is CORS. You can install it using npm CORS. But I like using the code as a middleware. So let's get to the backend where we define our routes. Here I will paste the copy paste a middleware function. This is exactly the same as the course npm package. Here we are saying to allow all the requests which comes in using star, but in production we don't use it. We only allow the URL which we trust. Okay, now I will paste this middleware in the description so you can copy from there. With that in place, I think we are good to go. So now let's give it another try. In the browser, we will select the image and then upload. We get the alert. Now let's see if the image is uploaded or not. So as you can see, we have the image here with the right name and extension. Let me open and show it to you. There it is. So this is how you upload an image in React with Node. So thank you for watching, and yeah, thank you.